Welcome to the IAMCP Profiles and Partnership, the podcast that showcases how Microsoft partners and IAMCP members boost their business by collaborating with other members and partners. I'm your co-host, Anthony Carano, and in each episode, I'll be talking to some of the most innovative and successful partners in the Microsoft ecosystem. The International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners, otherwise known as IAMCP, is a community of Microsoft partners who help each other grow and thrive. Members can find and connect with other partners locally and globally and access exclusive resources and opportunities. Whether you're looking for new customers, new markets, or new solutions, IAMCP can help you achieve your goals. We'll hear their stories, learn from their experiences, and discover the best practices and strategies they use to increase customer loyalty and grow revenues. Whether you're a new partner or an established one, you'll find valuable insights and inspiration in this podcast. We hope you enjoy this podcast and find it useful and inspiring. If you do, please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to follow us on social media and connect with us on our website, www.profilesandpartnership.com, where you can find more information, resources, and opportunities to partner for success. Thank you for listening, and now let's get started with today's episode. But before we dive into our interview, let me ask you a couple of questions. As a Microsoft partner and member of the IAMCP, how are you investing in the continuous learning and development of your employees and customers as a way to grow your business? And how do you build and deliver the right solution to help you achieve that? These are some of the questions we'll explore in this podcast with the help of our guest, a P2P Americas and Worldwide finalist for the Advisor Awards. He'll share stories, challenges, and successes and give you practical tips and advice on how to build for success. Are you ready to join us on this journey? Then stay tuned because we have a great show for you today. Our guest is Carl Mazzanti, the president and CEO at eMazzanti Technologies, a 4-time Microsoft Partner of the Year award winner and CISSP, servicing clients worldwide since 2001 as an outsourced IT consultant focusing on security first. Let's hear what he has to say. Welcome, Carl, to the podcast today. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate having you.
Thank you, Anthony, for having me.
Excellent. Well, let's start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your role in the company.
So 24 years ago, Jennifer Shine, my business partner and best friend, had an idea that we could service the community in a way that would really pay attention to them, inspire, and be cost effective, help our customers achieve their goals. It was her idea that I've been trying to help build on that vision now for 24 years. I can't believe it's been 24 years. I was coming out of an inner circle partner, Cole Systems, in the dynamic space. And while I knew CRM and ERP really well, we were both in the World Trade Center towers when the first plane hit. It really solidifies your security first mindset when things like that happen. And we pivoted to being a security first company that was going to do infrastructure. So instead of doing ERP and CRM, which was my pedigree, we had a lot of people in the New York metropolitan area that were in need of opening up office space, getting their businesses restored. And that was a focus. We grew tenfold that year, tenfold. I mean, it was just amazing times trying to restore and get everyone back up and running, and we were doing a good job, and people were voting with their dollars. 24 years later, we've 7 out of those first 10 accounts. Isn't that just the neatest thing ever? And one of those accounts is our architect. And I mention to her all the time that I've spent way more with her than she ever did in the 24 years. But it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, 24-year life cycle. That's got to boost up those retention and renewal numbers. That's great. Now, when did you join IAMCP?
Probably within the first 3 years. So
Okay.
in 2003, we won our first Microsoft award, and believe it or not, Bill Gates was there. Isn't that just amazing? That that's so long ago. Anyway, we were at Comdex, if people can even remember that, and we had just gotten in Channel Magazine and Redmond Magazine and stuff like that. We're all starting to pay attention to us because we were making waves. So it was just so neat. So I joined IMCP. That's really when we started to understand the power of partnering.
Hmm. Well, what's also really fascinating, it's interesting as we were doing a little bit of research. I heard through the grapevine that you're a walker, and that
I am.
you've walked all six continents.
I have and gone to school in three of them.
Get out.
Yeah, I went to Chinese University of Hong Kong during handover.
Uh huh.
I chose to go there over going to Oxford because there were literally tanks lining up at the border, and I thought that would be such a pivotal moment to take Hong Kong from a British territory to a Chinese managed territory. Everyone was so freaked out at the time, and it was world history at the time. So it was nice to be at the
Hmm.
school during the transition and to see Prince Charles, fly off, and literally, like I said, the changing the guard took place so quickly.
Wow. So I can imagine. I mean, I've got a few questions here. I know we're going to get to the partner story here in a minute, but really fascinated. So, what in walking, six continents? I got a few questions. One, what prompted you to start doing that?
Well, I feel like that you come up with really good ideas. Come up with great ideas while you're putting two feet in front of each other, and I'm super Italian, so my when I meet with people, I like to put legs underneath the table and clearly some nice food or something in front of both of you to facilitate an open dialogue in a safe place. And then with my management team and customers and some of the staff, I take them on walks. That's where really some of the ideas start to flow. I think hiking early age and the like just began that. Now that the fact that you have mobile and AirPods, oh, they're
Hmm.
awesome. You could just be out and about doing other things and working.
Like listening
But
to podcasts, right?
yes,
That's it.
absolutely, absolutely. There's one continent though I haven't been to yet, and that's Antarctica. And I've finally mapped out how that trip's going to go because I don't want to just walk on Antarctica or run on Antarctica or bike on Antarctica or climb on Antarctica. I want to go to the South Pole. And there's less than 500 people a year that go there, and maybe less than 5,000 in the history of us having knowledge of the continent who've ever done that. To put that in perspective, when you're at the South Pole, the closest humans are in the International Space Station. It's really
Wow.
just such a next level item and a logistical challenge. So for us innovators and Microsoft partners on here, we're so used to talking about things that run on Microsoft, but this one is just so neat, right? To get there and to have that experience.
Hmm. What have you learned in your journeys in your hiking across these six continents?
Well, I think diversity is a really big one. If you are in our office, it's like being in the United Nations. Everyone speaks multiple languages, so yo hablo español, you're probably Italiano. I find that people that speak different languages, they have to find ways to solve a problem faster. So if you look just a couple of years ago, AI wasn't even a thing. We were talking about
Hmm.
robotic process automation, but it wasn't really a consumable customer item. It was something we would sit with a customer and we would say, "Hey, we could use computers for some digital labor," but it wasn't in their pocket. It wasn't someone sitting there and writing and redoing their resume. It wasn't someone, composing their emails or something like that to be more effective. So I feel like our staff are really fast, and our customers pay us for speed. Many of our services, either through Microsoft partners, like that many of the listeners on this call, or direct to a customer that will engage us because they called. Um, One of the goals is they want to get from point A to point B, and we try and get them there as fast as humanly possible.
Hmm. One more question about the hiking. So
Sure.
is what was your biggest either surprise or aha moment in your journeys?
Well, I had said that I've lived in a bunch of different countries or states. So I was living in France at the time, and I was going to school between France and Italy, and I was in Mont Blanc, camping on the side of a cliff face when it started to rain, and our tent poles gave out, and we slid down the mountain. The
Huh.
When we got out, we were just a few feet from going over. And even, in the middle of the night, trying to hike up, tent down with a stream of water going through the center of the tent, your body's cold, you're super afraid. You've no idea the conditions.
Hmm.
I do not speak French, and there's no humans anywhere around. So you have to solve one problem, then solve the next problem, then solve the next problem. I would describe that as going into space. I describe that going in a submarine. And really, just running the business is kind of the same thing. Whatever the issue that comes up, you just have to solve the next problem, solve the next problem, solve the next problem. And I feel like from the hiking experience I have, any of the walking, it's a lot of it. You can get
Hmm.
caught off guard. Like you could be in Arizona where it's super hot and dry and arid, and then if it starts to rain, you're in a torrential tsunami where you could be wiped away and just gone in a second because the land doesn't absorb the water; it just flows, and it massively amplifies. So I have a deep respect for changing conditions and a little bit of paranoia that's probably kept us going in the right direction for a long time.
Well, indeed, you have 24 years. So that's fantastic. Really appreciate you sharing some of those stories, Carl. I definitely, as a fellow Italian, we'll definitely have to get together and, and get some food and wine, and we'd have a good time. um,
Agreed. That offer pretty much stands for anyone on this call. You want to come and visit the office? I have a nice cappuccino waiting for your arrival.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you've got a chance to share just a lot about your personal background. So really appreciate you sharing that. Tell us a little bit about eMazzanti Technologies, areas of specialization.
Actually, well, we try and do a few things and do those very, very well. So we try and be one or two in the marketplace. So I'll take GroupWise. I mean, it's amazing that GroupWise is still around, but we've moved 1.2 to 1.4 million mailboxes to Office 365, and Microsoft pays us. I mean, that's really kind of one of the testaments. But I feel like there's only three providers left, and one of them just announced that they're just not going to do the service any longer. It wasn't
Mm,
worth them keeping some of the staff and evolving the product. But in 2018, I bought one of the software packages and all the intellectual property around it. We've kept that infrastructure running off of Azure to stream confidence, give telemetry into the moving of the data at Office 365, and then so many other services come out of that. Once you have those tool sets where you can monitor and see visibility into it, we can do reporting. We can now apply that to things like Copilot. So, like, that's on a ton of our communications that goes outbound to start doing privacy flags and figure out, where's your data, where the leaks, are there shares out there, just visibility into unstructured data.
hmm.
The trying to tame that, figure out the rot and the like. That brand, serves largely enterprise customers because the ones that were made with group buys are not the 50 user shops anymore, or someone with 5 or 10 users. They're
Hmm.
municipalities, uh, they're financial institutions and the like that have a team that's been supporting it. And they're loud and they're proud on Novell NetWare.
Nice, nice.
Beyond that, I've mentioned a security first mindset. The IT industry is an unregulated one. If you look at the credit card industry, you've got PCI. If you look at the healthcare industry, you've got HIPAA. And in the IT industry, we make the rules. So there's no oversight. And and at any given moment, like on this call, there will be one quarter of the listeners that are losing money and they're near going out of business. There'll be a quarter of the users that are losing money, but they may be a lifestyle. They'll flip flop between making money one year and not making money the other year. And it's just a lifestyle. And there will be a quarter that are best in class that are taking off. They've built a better mousetrap and they're doing well. Well, if two-thirds or three-quarters of the group are marginal, they typically aren't spending on information security. So it exposes all the people that they service
Mm-hmm.
because there's no regulation out there. When the person
Mm-hmm.
walks in and they say, "Hey, I'm going to install your new computer, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to manage your Microsoft 365," even though Microsoft as a corporate may have policies, maybe their CSP accounts are exposed. There was an IT firm in northern New Jersey that was servicing an entire county of municipalities. They had a shared admin account across all of the municipalities. So all the municipalities in a single week were hit. All
Wow.
of them. The things like that just happen. So I feel like we get phone calls from other partners when the proverbial shit has hit the fan, and we try and pull them out with as little stink as possible. The first time that happened was in Joplin, Missouri. Joplin John Mazzanti called us up, and he was not even really speaking English. I mean, he was saying to me, "Would you like me to show you the video?" Like he was driving around, there were dead bodies around. There was laptops that had hit walls at 200 miles an hour were crushed,
Hmm.
and his email in his system wasn't working. There was no power, and I said to John, "We're going to get you up and running." We set up a hosted Exchange server, got all of his staff into email, got email filtering up and running, and restored all of his services that same day, and and got him back on his feet. Some of it was just business coaching, because who else do you call when everything has gone sideways? If you look a number of years later in 2012, Hurricane Sandy came and hit. Talk about the pirate power of IMCP. We had 500, 800 servers go down
Hmm.
and so many customers. And when it started, where it was just coming up the coast and we just started to see the alerts. It was like literally sitting back there and knowing it was going to get you. There was no way around it. I was sitting in my apartment and I watched as cars started to float outside. The the lights when the water hits the battery packs, the
Mm-hmm.
lights just start to come on and it's eerie because it's under the water and
Huh.
it's just approaching your home and there's nothing you can do about it. All the roads were closed. Police stopped everything. All the sandbags were out and you just start to pray. I was doing an exchange migration for someone and the power went out in my home in the middle of the migration. Just everything flickered out and that was it. It was over. Then you start to lose cell phone towers in the area. Well, the power of the partner is I brought in 5 other IT firms from different areas, including Joplin John from SNC Squared in Missouri to help us out. And we had every customer restored in 72 hours.
Hmm.
Give you a funny little story. When I hit my low point twice during that time, I was walking around in sewage and I was using baby wipes because there was no running water. And I didn't realize the sewage was acidic. So my toenail came off. Gives you how disgusting this scenario was. The I had a staff member who we were carrying servers on our heads trying to get out of the water, and he stepped on a nail. It went through his foot. This gives you
Hmm.
an idea of how dedicated our team is. He went out in the ambulance, and I said, "Oh, I'm not going to see him again." You know what I mean? Because the ambulance picked him up. They took him to the hospital. He came back to the job site with his shoe wrapped in tape. He'd gotten a tetanus shot, and
Wow.
he kept helping us. The Sammy Lopez. He's been with me for over 20 years. The He's nearing retirement, and I almost can't imagine a day not
Yeah.
having Sammy around. Every hero at one
What?
moment has
Well,
a
let me. I
section.
want. Yeah, I want to jump in on that though. So, what do you? I mean, obviously, you have, obviously, great, employee,
Yep.
loyalty, obviously, about customer. What do you attribute on the employee side? What do you attribute that to?
Well, we try and do right people in the right seat. When you put the right person in the right seat, they're generally very happy. That would include myself. I'm always surprised that people pay us. You know, that the fact that they do is great because I would do this for free. I love it so much. the fact that they'll compensate us or do something, you know what I mean? It's great. The the second item out of that is we're really run a university. If you had to look at a core competency of our of eMazzanti Technologies, is we're a school. So we we understand the concept that our customers pay us for speed, and as people join us, we're educating them on the eMazzanti way of delivering items. So like we're SOC 2 compliant. We did our
Mm-hmm.
SOC 2 type 1 and pass the attestations and everything else, and then continue to evolve our processes. So from one customer to the next customer, it just keeps getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And then in
Mm-hmm.
that school, when people join us, there's just people studying around, and it's a culture of continuous learning, and you educate the others as you learn things, and you're never alone. You know, we live our core values on a regular basis. That never alone and helping out others, you know, that translates into the IMCP community. I'll take a
Mm-hmm.
phone call from anyone on the planet. I really don't think there's any competitors. I think there's annoyances. There really is no competitors, and we're helpful for them. The even in transitions, because like people will decide to move on from us, we service our customers very well to the very last day, and we'll give ideas to the next person who's coming in, and you know I think we do a solid. So very rare will more than one customer ever leave us and go to a same supplier more than once. You know what I mean? That's just very rare. But in the community, we've just helped out. I'll even I'll call another company and I'll say, hey, I want to let you know your customer is looking at hiring us. You know, if you want to hold on to them, I think if you do this or that, you'd probably do it. But if you've come to a point you don't want to service them anymore, we're going to put in a bid.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the owners, I'll get surprising reactions. One will be like, "Oh, that jerk! Absolutely, take him. I don't want him."
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, there's a question of whether I want to service them myself, but it's a classy way of handling the community.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and I think some of our competitors um, walk into other places and they say, "Hey, you're using eMazzanti. You're really lucky." You
Mm-hmm.
know, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll speak positively about us.
Well, on that note, on as you part about with running a university and the emphasis on continuous learning, I think it's a great segue into the partner story where you guys, were not only the Americas but also a worldwide finalist,
Yeah.
for the Advisor Awards and about your masterclass series.
Sure. So we in 2020 we chose this concept of thought leadership. I kept 100% of our bench where other people were declining out and weren't sure whether they were keeping some of the staff or they were doing rifts or furloughs. We kept 100% of them. We used the staff to call our customers and educate them on what was possible. And then we started our thought leadership series. So that became the master classes. There's one or two sessions every week, and the ones we probably advertise the most now are Microsoft Copilot, even though we do securities, agents, robotic process automation, automation in general, vertical items for legal, manufacturing, nonprofits. The Copilot classes are by far the most attended. They're hands on with people who do dialogues, where we do breakout rooms, and they get to see some of the best ways to use stuff. And it's even so cool while we're doing demonstrations,
Mm-hmm.
like new features are still being lit up by Microsoft along the way. We're happy. Like I said, we give back to the community, so there probably are all sorts of IT firms that join for the sessions. And if you have a customer where you're trying to map something out, I feel like we speak Copilot Studio and can help you with Power Automate, Copilot Studio, one of those to help your customer achieve the goal. You don't have to be an expert in every Microsoft technology. You just need to find a partner in IMCP that can help you along the way. That's really what this is all about.
So, Carl, I've got a question there. So, you won this award in America's for partnering with Skykick. Can you tell us a little bit about what that solution was and how that evolved into your master class as well?
So I mentioned back a few minutes ago that in 2018 I bought this group-wise migration platform. Well,
Okay.
one of the items was, let's say, an Office 365 O to O migrations or We were doing Gmail to Office 365 outside the enterprise space. We engaged with Skykick to figure out a way to not only do the migration, but do the long term backups of customers. The customers never care about a backup until you have to do the restore. They really care about the restore. Can we get your data and how fast did you get it? That's really how you're measured. So, in 2020, when they're doing all the riffs, well, all the lawsuits start coming up. There was people who were upset about how they were being handled. There was so fear and all this other stuff. So it happens. You also had a lot of people who are now sitting at home with idle, and they start to compete against their own customers. They start to compete against their own employers. They were sitting at home, and you saw an incredible number of small businesses take place, but you had data loss, theft, and well, a whole bunch of businesses go out. So Skykick was just a great partner of ours from inceptions, all the migrations, the ongoing care and feeding of our customer base's backups. They've just been great along the way.
So I've got a question about the master classes because one of the things that I wanted to find out about. So what's the profile of the people that come into the classes? Are they more office workers? Are they admins? I'm sure you're doing different ones, and so can you tell us a little bit about those?
I'll tell you about one of my favorite restaurants in Hawaii. It's called Zippy's, and the executive assistant came into the class for the CEO, and then all of a sudden, 7 other people around the firm after this one took it joined the next class. So it's so neat because people find the value, and then they turn around and they tell others. So we see a lot of the same companies come. The like one person will come, then they'll tell the rest of the neighbors or other people around them, and then it spreads from there. And just like you're talking about it on this call, it's nice that there's this open dialogue. On the day of, we get 100% more registrants on the day of the event than we do even the months leading up to it. Because people start to say, "Hey, I'm on it," or "I'm going to this today," and it upticks like a rocket ship in a way I've never seen before for something that's being done virtually. Anyway, the goal is just give away as much of the secret sauce items as you possibly can, and the participants who come just love you for it. They feel empowered, they learn something, and some of them keep coming back. um,
No, I like the story because it talks about your culture as well, that whole learning environment, and that's always great in growing a company is building that culture where everybody learns and is dedicated towards helping customers. So really appreciate the story. So I've got one more question. So how long are these classes? How much time commitment is required of your customers when they come in?
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half? Okay,
Yep,
great.
90 minutes. We try and get it all done in 90 minutes.
And then how did your team I mean, you talked about, I read the story and you create a simulated environment. How much work is required by your staff to create this simulated environment or, how exactly are you building those? Because apparently you're doing different scenarios, so I know that's work.
We are. Well, it's not only work for the ongoing care and feeding, but it evolves. So you have to stay current. Like every couple weeks, the product is so different. Some like if you look, we have one coming up next week, and then one coming up the week after that, and
Mhm.
the sessions are different. Even just in 7 days,
Right.
they're different from each other, or 9 days in this scenario. So we try and keep evolving and staying current. And if some Microsoft lights up something else, we start to talk about that. So if something's happening in Planner or Dynamics 365 or beyond the ones that we love, like Copilot and the normal Office apps that you're used to, like Word, Excel, and the like, we'll bring something up about it.
And is it dedicated staff that do these master classes, or do you incorporate a lot of your techs into this?
We use our techs to do the presentations because those are the same people that are going to be in front of our customers. There's no third parties that come and join us. It's 100% focused on the same staff you would see every day.
Oh, that's great to hear. It's like I said, I'm very familiar with that whole learning environment, having run an organization that did that, and we used to do it for the military, so I know what challenges you go through. So,
Yeah.
so
What
that,
military were you in?
well, we did a lot of work. A company I used to own, we did a lot of DoD work. We'll just say that.
Okay.
And so one of the things that we did was like being out at Fort Hood, which is small base or small organization, only 70,000 troops, and
Yeah.
we had to incorporate Microsoft technologies into how they used it in their battlefield communications. And so one of the things that we did was we taught them how to build battlefield networks. So we would dismantle all the equipment, put it in a tent, dismantle it, go, now reassemble it. You got 90 minutes to put it back together again. And so you'd have different technologies in there. So you're going to laugh at these, but you'd have ArcNet, Ethernet, and Token Ring and
Yeah.
all, and no, now put it back together. And so we had, when you're teaching 18-year-old boys how to do all this stuff, it was challenging. It was
It
challenging.
is. I was born on Philadelphia's naval base. That's why I asked the question,
Yeah.
to a lieutenant commander. Thank you for, for your service and what you've done for everyone. I wonder how many people listening to this have some military experience.
Oh, I'm sure there's quite a few because we run into those in the tech community quite a
Right.
bit.
Yeah.
And I worked with 25 colleges and universities where we built Microsoft and Cisco and Linux training programs to get troops that were coming out of the service and using VA benefits to get them educated and help them get jobs.
They make for great staff. I try and hire ex warriors all the time. You know what I mean? Anyone who's got service, they tend to do great things for those they serve, and especially the ones that chose to serve.
Yeah, it's a great level of commitment. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Anthony, have you got some other questions?
Yeah, I do. So question I have, like going back to like with your partnership with Skykick, did you have any challenges during that engagement, and if so, what were they, and how did you guys work together to overcome those?
Well, they were recently purchased out by ConnectWise, so there's always things that happen during that time
Uh huh.
frame, and over 15 years, because they were funded by external parties, um, they would grow very rapidly and then contract, and grow very rapidly and contract, and as a partner, you can feel the funding rounds. The
Mm,
if the funding round went very well, all of a sudden we get some features and stuff that we wanted. If the funding round didn't go well, you'd have 6 or 9 months of no attention, or worse, you might lose the people that were going to pay attention to you. I think over the period of time, we rose to the top, so that helps out when you choose to do a few things and do those very, very well. You can almost write your story, and I feel like that happens with some of our partners that we work with. We're WatchGuard's 5-time worldwide partner of the year, and we're a platinum partner. There's only 11 in the globe. So when something's going on with a WatchGuard deployment, or we walk into any environment that has it, I know we can make an improvement. We're just so good. But I'm able to get the CEO of the organization on the phone and say, this is happening out in the field, and then get the support we need. So that's led to retail stores in a couple of hours having new replacements because something died. It's a firmware update that all of a sudden stopped wireless in the middle of a shopping season. And then a few hours later, that patch being pushed out to all the devices. I'd describe the IT industry like, CrowdStrike, where it takes everyone out and the planes are grounded. I mean, it happens. If those
mm-hmm.
things didn't happen, we wouldn't have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
The so if you can rise to the top and service only a few and be an expert in those few things you do, you can anticipate customers' needs and they love you for it. 7 out of 10 customers still 24 years later.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an amazing item, to still have sitting out there. Now, I think I probably need to start raising their rates or do something like that. Because we haven't raised their rates in 24 years. So,
Wow.
24 years.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Rudy?
So, Carl, in reading the story you submitted, I know that you have great customer satisfaction. I think I
Yep.
saw a percentage like 97%. Are you tracking any growth in revenue for some of those companies, or do you talk about that with in your quarterly business reviews with business owners?
Yep. By the way, we flipped to TBRs, technology business reviews, because some of the smaller customers just don't want quarterly interactions. There's just not enough that happens with them. So we went with TBRs, and I'll give that out to the community. The next item is our customer base is generally growing at 5% without us doing anything. On some of the uptick years, it'll grow at 12, but the standard customer base is growing somewhere around 5% on the corral. And because we have such a high retention of it, if we just sit back and do nothing, we're going to grow. It's really a nice position to be in. That same concept is we get to choose our customers. We're not funded by anybody else. So if a IMCP member calls me up, it's our choice to do something with them. We don't we're not forced by any external parties to make one choice or another. The next one is we're always adding net new logos. So we now add our internal goal is 2 net new logos a week, no matter what, and we probably average between 3 and 4. The minimum of 2 net new logos a week is that baseline is probably too low for us at this point. That started off when Microsoft told us when we joined. At the time, it was the Exchange Online Accelerator program. Oh my God, I'm so old. And you had to add 50 net new customers a year. And if you lost a customer, you needed to replace the customer in order for you to stay within the program. I remember walking in the office going, how are we going to do this? At the time, we had like 100 to 200 customers. And I was thinking, well, if you have just a percentage that drops off, it's not just 50. You really need to be at like, 75, 100 net new customers a year,
Mhm.
because you're going to get this little flower shop that opens up with a couple users that turns around and says, I don't want to run flowers anymore, or I'm allergic to pollen.
Right.
um, so that's where we built our engine, to add net new people, and there's still great referrals that are coming in. So we're all happy about the new logos that come back. We're always happy with the engagements and the choices, but the existing customers are the ones we love and we pay the most attention to.
That's great to hear. Again, so much of this just relates to the culture of your organization. And in fact, I was talking with another customer this week. We were just talking about they're just hitting their 10th year right now, and how important culture is. So they're having their first town hall for for with all their employees and bringing them in from across the world. So it's pretty exciting. Are all your employees located there in the Philly area, or where are they located across the country?
So, i- if you worked for eMazzanti in 2019, there were almost all in the New Jersey area, and then in 2020, by April or May, people scattered all over the place. All new hires come out of Hoboken, New Jersey. Where our corporate headquarters is,
Okay.
and we try and keep them in the corporate office for 2 years, and we do that because we're running a school. So it shows you the way of doing the service delivery, put you in the field. We have you come in on Saturdays and Sundays, do some projects for a customer, migrations, moves, something like that. So it doesn't impact the customer during the course of the week. You can make improvements ahead, and then it gives people great insight. And then kind of after that second year, and you've learned the eMazzanti way of doing things, if you want to move out to another area, like we have guys in Dominican Republic, we have a huge concentration in Florida, Washington State, now Texas. In the New York metropolitan area, super easy. Guys that moved to Philadelphia because they didn't really want to pay New Jersey sales estate tax any longer. It's like an 8% raise just by
Yeah,
moving across the border, so they do it.
exactly,
And then they
exactly.
buy their first home out there. So we'll go all the way out through Lancaster, Hershey, the sweetest place on earth. Uh, you know, we'll do those things. But one of our goals was $100 million in revenue between New York, Philadelphia, and Washington D.C. And we've been picking customers up everywhere in between. And then We get these born on the cloud customers that are across the United States, whether it's municipality, a construction company, someone that wants to use us as their Microsoft innovator. And then for whatever it is, I guess people start to retire in Florida. We just have such a huge corral between Tampa, Sarasota, Orlando, and then a whole bunch of retail in Miami.
So, full transparency, I first heard your name back in 2003 from 2 people that you know, Jeff
Get out.
Jeff Goldstein and Howard Cohen.
Oh yeah. By the way,
Yeah.
love them both. They can never retire. They have to continue to work. When you
Yep,
tell
yep.
them, you remind me of that. Jeffrey helped me so much on Solomon. I've a bunch of customers that we've done with him because Q Associates, Jeffrey's business,
Mhm.
is the best at Dynamics Solomon, and I'm so happy what he's been able to do with some of our customers. But and then even just on some of the BC GP items, because it pops up in our customer base, right? They want to stay with Microsoft, so they pick up Dynamics. He's been fantastic, and then Howard as a writer. Voraciously, I've been reading him for so long. I only wish I could bike as often as he does,
I'm good friends with both of them, so we've been IMCP members forever, it seems like, so
forever.
forever, and so it's, I had to let you know about them because I said, "Hey, I'm gonna talk to Carl." "Oh, really?" And so tell him said hi, so hello from both of them. Anthony, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What a small world. Well, as we wrap up, Carl, I just got really just two questions. One is, I know you had remarked, at the start of the podcast, just about our books in the background. What are you reading and why?
Yeah, so my son, actually, this was our dinner conversation last night. My bookshelves are filled with nonfiction functional items. The really like right now, conditional access is so high on my priority list, and autopilot, for our customer base, and really tweaking out items so you just don't have to touch a device any longer, but you can really drive compliance. So that's actually in my bag. I carry that around, and
Hmm.
I try to apply that to the customers that I go and visit. There's all sorts of other books there. So Antarctica, clearly, right? I've got like I'm looking to the right of
You,
me, and
it'd be
there's a
good to
whole bunch of
get ready
Antarctica.
for that,
Yeah. Well,
huh?
it was so cold this winter that I got a chance to just drive north and get to -20 because you'll get
Wow.
-40 wind chill in Antarctica. And what I did is I actually mapped out every 10 degrees what I needed to do.
Mm.
So I started 60, 50, 40, and I went all the way down, and I wrote what did I need to do to change the layers so that my hands and feet were fine. But when you start to get into these -20 or -40 degrees, if you sweat, like if you sweat on your feet and stuff, the sweat will then refreeze and it'll crack the skin,
Oh,
and then
wow.
your skin will start to bleed. Like you get into all these other logistical problems when you get into these really, really, really Arctic cold scenarios. So it was so cool to be able to do those things this winter, ahead of really I'm targeting the end of this year to go to Antarctica and make that happen. Anyway, so the rest of the books, there's a Bible sitting next to me, so God-fearing guy. I have some old books because I feel like, if you look the Western canon, there's about 1,500 books that make up most of the writers, and if you go
Hmm.
through the Western canon, you can kind of figure out where the rest of the things go. So I try to read some of those. Then there will be tax changes or other things that I'll try and go through just so when I'm sitting in front of a customer, well, I'm not their accountant. If I can find ways of saving them funds, do they turn around and reinvest it in their business?
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
do we become really the trusted advisor because we talk to them about marketing and business growth? We talk to them about taking an applicant tracking system and deploying it for them so they can put the right people in the right seat at the right time.
Hmm.
Um, just all the things that you can do from a lens of being a great consultant.
Hmm. So I said I only had two questions. I'm going to sneak one in there. It's kind of a pig, because one of the things I found fascinating about our time together is, as you were talking about, like with building up your firm and just with the level of customer experience, employee retention, all that, just such an emphasis on culture. So what's a resource, whether it could be a book, a website, etc., something that you would recommend to the other owners out there listening? Yeah, you know where I'm going with this.
I know where you're going with this. So
All right, go for it.
I feel, so I said this earlier that we went for SOC 2. I think everyone needs to choose a framework. Microsoft used to have these ads where they would show a guy climbing up a mountain, and Microsoft called them partner guides. That was their guide to lead you through, case studies, to do your marketing and the like, to try and activate the community. Well, if you choose a framework and you deploy that inside of your organization, it gives you a little bit of the roadmap. So for us, we chose EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System,
Mm,
um, and based on traction in those books. So like when you ask for some of the books, we hand them out for our staff. Oh my God, look at you reaching back and you've got one on your shelf. That's so cool. Look at that. Yeah, but I don't see enough pages folded over.
oh, come on.
The you know some highlights and tacked on the wall. But EOS was quite good. We thought so highly about that at our 23, we run an event every year, our major in-person event, typically around September. It's and it's last year was 23 years of learning. The next one will be 24 years of learning, so it's an annual event. We had an EOS speaker open up,
Nice.
really try and help our customers put a roadmap in front of them. I had a customer, it's actually the neatest thing ever. This is one of these early uses of Copilot. She had her laptop open and had Microsoft Word recording every single thing the person said. And then when it ended, she had Copilot turn into slides,
Wow.
so she could, in a summary, that she could bring it back to their team. It was such a neat idea. Anyway, so if people leave the call and they just take this concept of choose some framework, SOC in the United States, Sarbanes-Oxley's, any of those, HIPAA, PCI, any of them, NIST, you choose some framework that you start to strive to in whatever segment of your company is important. You'll find that'll give you the framework for a repeatable business that
Mm-hmm.
reduces a lot of the stress and makes it fun again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent. And last question is, how can people find out more about you?
So you can always email me, cmazzanti at eMazzanti.net. That's worked for 24 years. So C like Carl, then Mazzanti, my last name, Mazzanti at E like electronic, and then Mazzanti, my last name, .net. I'm most certainly on LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn so long that's LinkedIn slash C Mazzanti. How cool is that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone's got like numbers and other stuff now, but mine is my actual name. That tells you how old I am. The
Mm-hmm.
most certainly a phone call away. So 201 360 4400 and I'm extension 4410. I'm happy to take a call from anyone. The only time I don't answer is when I'm sleeping and
Which is
in the
never,
community. It
right?
seems like it's never.
Yeah.
You know what that's called? In Teams, you schedule the message to go out, and you do the same thing in Outlook to keep them guessing.
That's it.
You
That's
know,
it. Well, excellent. Well, this was fantastic, Carl. Really appreciate your time with us, and we look forward to kind of connecting and getting that Italian food and some vino together at some point there.
standing offer for cappuccino
That's it.
anytime you want.
All right, excellent, Carl. Well, you have a great rest of the day.
Great visiting with you, Carl. Take care.
Cheers.
Well, that was a fantastic episode. I really enjoyed having Carl on. Very conversational. We got a lot of really great side stories between planning trips to Antarctica to just some of the origins, behind the company, as well as dealing with some of the disasters that have hit different parts of this country and how they've been involved. So, what a lot of great insight and perspective on things.
Oh, absolutely. I really enjoyed all his side stories.
It made it fun for sure. But I also got a lot of really good, nuggets from it. I know there was one thing in particular when they were just talking about, just about their company, and there was a line that he shared that really resonated with me, and that is when he talked about choose to do a few things and do them very well, then you can write your story. And I just thought that was just, so profound because there's today, especially in tech, there's so many opportunities. There's so many things that you can do, but just the point of just a reminder, just to really focus, specialize, and excel. And then you can position yourself to be able to do, what you really, love doing. And I thought that was just a great reminder.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, going along with that comment, the thing was that I picked up on it was the organizational culture that they've built at that company, and it's built around continuous learning and for employees as well as customers. And so, in one of his little side stories, when you were talking to him about being a walker, he says sometimes he just takes a walk with employees, and that's how some of the best thinking comes through. And that's so important that if you share knowledge with your employees, that it's going to help build and people start understanding, because that's one of the great failings of a lot of leaders is they keep everything to themselves and then expect people to pick it up through osmosis. And the thing that our listeners will pick up in this was how much Carl shares on how important learning is to them. And in fact, they have an annual event that they're planning for already. They just conducted one in September, 23 years of learning, and now the next year is the next 24 years of learning. And that's important because your customers as well as your employees need to understand how the company's evolving and what you're learning and how you share that information, and that leads to satisfaction at both the employee and the customer level. So I found that very important and very enlightening that he does so much there. That to me was near and dear to my heart, really, having come from the environment I came from.
Yeah, yeah, that was really good. It was also I really appreciated what he just talked about, just how the the power of the partner and the partnering community. And when he shared, about the story with around Hurricane Sandy and how it wiped out so many businesses, and I think there was something. Correct me here, Rudy, but he said they had to replace like 500 servers or something to that effect.
Exactly.
um, yeah, yeah. But how through, as he made calls out to the partnering community, they were actually able to get, him and the partners, every customer restored, from that within 72 hours. So that's just remarkable, just to see how, partners can come together and, in the face of, just, a natural disaster and really come together to improve the lives of these business owners and make that impact through partnering together. So that was fantastic.
Yeah, I found that story really amazing because I remember when Hurricane Sandy hit the East Coast, and how many people went through significant challenges during that, and the flooding that happened everywhere. It wasn't just isolated, it was everywhere along the eastern seaboard, upper eastern seaboard. So great story from
Hmm.
Carl. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And I know you're going to enjoy it. It was really enlightening. So we want to thank you, all of you, for joining us on this episode of IAMCP Profiles in Partnership, powered by Dunamis Marketing. We hope you find this podcast useful and inspiring. I know I did. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. One of the best ways to partner for success is to join IAMCP, a community of Microsoft partners who help each other grow and thrive. IAMCP members can find and connect with other partners locally and globally and access exclusive resources and opportunities. Whether you're looking for new customers, new markets, or new solutions, IAMCP can help you achieve your goals. To learn more, visit the website at www.iamcp.org.